Hello and welcome to the Connective podcast. My name is Caden. I'm here with my co-host Jake, and today we're going to be talking about the worst parts of starting college. I think there's a lot to talk about here. Jake, if you want to kick things off, you can. But I've got a long list of things to say, and
I know you do.
It's all just kind of an adjustment. So take it away.
So they kind of stem from maybe past experiences, but also like there's academic parts, right, that are more bad, and then there's social parts, and then there's personal parts, like the struggle of being on your own for the first time, or being without your parents or not knowing anybody. Then there's academics, like you didn't do well on a test, or you turned in something late, or you just have so much work to do, you have to stay up past midnight.
I agree.
And then there's friend stuff, which in the first semester will definitely happen, but everyone's, for lack of a better term, fake, if that's okay to say.
No, that's fair.
And everyone's trying to get their name out there and make a bunch of friends and all that. But then it'll be interesting this second semester what we see.
Right.
But I mean, there's just so, like, I found myself battling at 4 fronts at a time,
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Academic, family, whatever it was, it's hard, but there's a lot of good that can come with it and come out of it.
I agree. I wanted to, kind of emphasize that before we get too deep into, these things suck as part of college. There's also more than enough things that really are great, right? And this is just, it's part of the transition from high school, from being, a kid to adulthood post-college. Like, college is where you should start to really find your independence there. You start to really figure out how you as an independent individual would operate. And so, when you're really adjusting from being in this kind of high school bubble where, you've known pretty much everyone there since elementary school, since middle school, or since, your freshman year of high school. Now you're all coming in from all over the country, all over the world. And like you said about people being fake, like, it's not necessarily that everyone's fake, because I agree with what you're saying and I get your point. But everyone's really trying to put on some sort of persona so that they feel like they fit in better. And so that, that creates just a really, I'm not going to say tense atmosphere at first, but just a really forced one. You find yourself really not sure if people are actually your friend at first, or what the situation is. And this is not a bad thing in the long term, because you really do get to know so many people in the first few weeks, even with COVID going on. I mean, you and I both met a few hundred people anyway, like just in the first few weeks, right? Because that's just the process. But it is that adjustment. You're really saying, here's who I am, here's the best self that I want you guys to know who I am.
Exactly.
And everyone's really trying to say, oh yeah, you're great, I'm great too, let's hang out, and then then see how the friendship goes from there. I know in our case, I know we've talked about this before, Jake and I met by chance in a management class, and you said something to me one time, and I don't remember what it was, but then we ended up seeing each other like 4 different times, and then randomly met for lunch one day. Like, that's just how we became.
Yeah, it's like, you're in my management class, right?
Yeah. That's how that started, and it was the most random friendship ever. And I was like, oh, gosh, who is this kid? And now we host this podcast together. So, it's just a shift, right? And you have to figure out, not necessarily quickly, but you have to kind of adjust to figure out who really fits with who you consider your genuine self to be. And, figure out where your friend groups really kind of lie. So.
Right. And I said this before, but like, you have to be willing, I guess, to get out of your comfort zone. You have to be willing to go up to someone and say, hi, I'm so-and-so, or like talk about school or something like that, because you can't just go to class, go to the cafeteria, and go to your room.
Right.
I mean, you can in many sense, but like, if you want to get the full potential out of college and what you're paying for, then you have to step out of your comfort zone. And why not, right? I mean, you need kind of those soft skills in the workforce and in life, and it's a
Right.
great time to develop those.
No, I agree with that. I mean, if you just sit and don't put yourself in a position where you're able to interact with people, you're not going to interact with people.
Right.
And that's not to say, oh, antisocial people aren't going to be able to have friends in college. It will all happen as you start to participate in extracurriculars and start to get, more comfortable with your environment and with the people around you. And, if you have a roommate, then they'll probably introduce you to people, and, vice versa. You'll probably introduce your roommate to people. So, obviously a lot of goods come from that, but it's just that, strong adjustment. And, that is going to be the theme of today's podcast is you're really kind of starting to shift away from your high school friends, which is natural and part of college, right? Like you definitely pretty much the day you graduate, you lose, I want to say at least 80% of your friends just because you don't talk to them very much anymore.
Before we move on, that happened to me, right? I was so ready to get out of high school and all that, and I was so ready to move on and move out of my hometown. And you say you're going to keep in contact with people, but like, it's so hard to, right? You
It's
get caught up
impossible.
with all the work you're doing,
Mhm.
with trying to make new friends and like
Yeah.
kind of moving on, that it's hard to talk to these people.
Exactly.
And so I didn't talk to some people the entire semester, and then I came back, and it just, it's not like I didn't like them or anything. It was just
Yeah.
like
No, exactly.
back in high school. It felt like I was back in high school, and I'm one to want to move on and be ready to move on,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah,
so,
because you really spend, let's say, 3-4 months away from these people, and then if when you go back home, you're like, oh wait, these people are all still here, and I still know them, and that's great to reconnect. But I mean, I'd say if I was numerically counting the number of friends I had left after high school from just what I brought with me from high school, I'd say give or take 10 people that I consistently still talk to, and if that, you know what I mean? Like, and even fewer that I actually hang out with on a regular basis,
mm-hmm.
And once I go back to college for this spring semester, which is now 2 weeks from this recording, like, I know that I'm not really going to talk to them much for another 4 months,
Exactly.
And that's just part of it. And, over time that's going to fluctuate, but you mentioned, oh, you're really not struggling, but you're really kind of involved in everything that's going on. So you're not really focused on your high school friends. And that's definitely true because, it's not like you're able to just suddenly add on another high school's worth, quote unquote, of friends,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
People move in and out of your life. And it's not the worst thing. It's just a really weird thing to have
It's
it all
just what
happen.
happens. That's
Because
like
everyone's the new kid at school. There's no
Yeah.
one who's just comfortable. So you've got a bunch of new kids, quote unquote, at school.
Yeah.
So, and everyone's just trying to figure out how they, can become friends, make friends, fit in, whatever the case may be. So,
And touching on not talking to people for a while, like my best friends, I guess, here, like I saw them when I got back, and I've seen them a few times since I've been back. But talking to them, they had made all these new friends, and they're just kind of changed people, which was fine. I expected them to be, but it's just you're different people than you were graduation day. You know what I mean?
College is such a transitionary period that you really start to find yourself becoming someone different really, really quickly into the year. And it's not a bad thing. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, wait, now I'm in college,
Exactly.
now I'm making steps towards a career. Now I'm, finding people who I'm probably going to be friends with for a long time because they're my college friend group. They're the people we supported the team together. If you think about the sports episode we just did, or they're the people I was, we all set goals together to really, whether that's found a company or invent a thing or all have a Ferrari by the time we're 30, like whatever goal you guys set with your friends, like those are the people you're going to end up keeping in contact with.
Exactly.
So, it's definitely just a shift. And I think that, the social life in college is just different than the social life in high school too, right? Like, you see such a different perspective of the world and of people than you did when you were in college or than in high school. So,
And take it all with a grain of salt, right?
yeah.
Like don't worry about your friends not calling, like your high school friends not calling you, right? They're doing their own thing. You're doing your own thing. You'll see them when you get back home.
Mm-hmm.
But just be willing to make new friends. That's probably my biggest thing, and like the biggest takeaway or advice I can give is, because I think you and I are naturally people, right? You know, like we're,
except I'm extremely introverted. Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. And like, you have to, if somebody asks you, hey, you want to go get lunch? Like, yeah, why not? Because it's 30 minutes out of your day.
Yeah.
Meet someone new, make a connection.
Yeah.
Gain a follower.
Gain a follower, make a friend.
Yeah.
I got you. I agree. But, I want to build on your taking things with a grain of salt thing. There's going to be a lot of drama and social tension your first semester, maybe first year of college. And I'm sure, quite honestly, that it continues all through college. But especially when everyone's really new to it, no one's sure how to navigate anything. Right. No one knows what's, where's the line. No one knows, whose side who's on. Everyone's got a lot of just drama that all stems from just the adjustment period, from, all these new friend groups, people finding out that they don't work well together, or they don't live well with their roommate, or whatever the situation may be. Right. And so, as you're finding these new lines and new boundaries, drama happens. And, it sucks a lot, but I think college is an important time to really focus on yourself too, Yeah. So going back to now taking everything with a grain of salt, if there's drama, it'll probably go away, unless it's seriously illegal or something like that. Drama typically goes away. And as a result of that, like, you're able to just take it with a grain of salt, move on, and focus on yourself, be better because of it or whatever,
That's another big thing. College, you really need to focus on yourself, right? Because in high school you might have focused on the drama or whatever else, but this is the one time when, for the most part, you're away from your family. You're still a phone call away, but like, right. You're not with them all the time, like you were in high school, and so just focus on yourself, because again, you're starting your career, you're starting your life pretty much, right? So you should, why focus on anything else that probably wasn't right, but why focus or stress about the little things when you have a bigger picture there?
No, I got you. Yeah. The way I've looked at college, and I read this in a comic strip of all things, but the quote was this: college is basically just 4 years of independent, fully funded, unsupervised living. And that is such a blessing for so many reasons, and that's, a great opportunity to discover yourself, to figure out where you want to go, what you want to do, who you want to be. And you've just got to say, you know what? Yes, I want to focus on myself during this 4 years of, funded, independent, unsupervised living with, really pretty minimal repercussions, like you're in this growing transition phase where you're able to say, you know what, I'm going to, change how I look. I'm going to change my style. I'm going to, try to get involved in 5 different things. I'm going to, care more about this, or, oh, this career appeals to me, and you
through
lose
all of this, you fail,
mm-hmm.
which is good.
Yeah. And I was going to say, you fail, you lose a lot of the parts that you might have once considered that made you. Like, you might have once been like, oh, I'm the quiet, nerdy kid. And then you get to college and suddenly you're the, you're the funny guy in the group, or the funny, person in the group. And suddenly, your role has changed, even though you as a person may not have changed much, or maybe you have, you've just shifted who you are as part of your natural transition through college, and you may still be a really smart kid, a really genius individual, but you're gonna change and adapt, and that's just what's good and bad about college, right? Is you do lose who you once were, which is why they always say, oh, don't grow up too fast, because you're gonna naturally just evolve away from who you once were into who you're going to become. And college is such an instant evolution period for my experience anyway. Like,
no, absolutely. And
yeah.
I left for the semester a whole different person than when I got there. Right.
Yeah.
I felt like I had gained 3 years in maturity, you know, and I came back and I just looked at my hometown different. You know, living with my parents was kind of a stretch. Yeah. It was hard.
I know. It was an adjustment for me on a lot of different planes to have lost some of the you know, things, the privileges I had to come back home and to be kind of contained and
it was
everything.
Funny when I, like, in high school, a lot of my friends had curfews, right?
Yeah.
And now they have no curfews. And it's funny because they'd have to be home by 11 or 12, and here they are staying out until 3 in the morning.
Yeah, no,
you know?
I agree.
It's hilarious.
It's the same for me too. Like, all my friends are like, oh, you know, we're going out, and it's 2 in the morning. They're going to IHOP, and it's like, and they're like, do you want to come? And it's like, I mean, yeah, like, you know, it depends on if I can or not, but I'm down, you know, because in college, when you're there, you just you can just go. Or what is it? Cafe de Brazil, whatever the whatever the breakfast joint is. It's a 24-hour place right by SMU. Fantastic place, fantastic service, and they're not sponsoring us or anything, but I just genuinely love that place so much. So if you're in town, go check it out.
We promise they're not sponsoring us.
Yeah, no, they're not. But it's just a great experience to you know, 3 a.m. bunch of people all just meet up and go get breakfast. You know, just because why not, right? That's all.
Just I found myself over there at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Morning.
Yeah, I did multiple occasions. It was just a fun time. And wow, we're really not doing a good job of saying here's the worst parts of college.
Yeah.
But it's okay, because that's what's great about college is almost all the bad things can be turned into good things really, really quickly.
That's the best takeaway we can get.
Yeah, that is honestly about as good as we can give. You know, I mean, there's just you know, they're taking away all the, you know, the drama, taking away all the social miscues and, you know, shortcomings that people all have and experience during their first month, 2 months, semester of college. It all just boils down to you're gonna be able to just explore. You know, like, you're in a great time to say, you know what, these 5 things suck, but these 50 things are awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's perfect way of putting it.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, obviously you can look at academics too, right? Like, you know, academic hurdles are different than social hurdles, right? There's obviously going to be more pressure because you're preparing for your career, but there's also a little less because you're not really fighting to get into a new institution. You're able to you're here for your, you know, your degree, and you know, you obviously, if you're trying to maintain scholarships and everything, that's a completely different thing. But, you know, at the end of the day, you're really just there to get the information you need and move on. And that's great, you know, and sure, you know, tests are always a challenge. And if those, you know, aren't the best scores, it stinks. You know, if you get a lower grade in a class than you want, it does suck. But, you know, again, it's a learning experience, and you know, all right, well, you know, next time I have X grade in a class, I need to study Y more hours, you know, there's just, it's again, just being able to adapt to the environment, adapt to the situation, and say, oh, you know what, this part sucked, but here's what was great. So, you know, college is really about learning how to focus on the positive and the negatives. You know what I mean? Like, of all,
how to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
How to deal with all the external forces that you face in your first semester. And
no, I agree.
We'll touch on this next season when we talk about semester 2, but it's going to be interesting to see, like, because now I know, like, kind of how to study, right? I know how to prioritize my time. I know how to manage not going out or not worrying about the little things, you know?
No, I totally do.
And maybe other people do, maybe other people don't, you know? So, and with Greek life coming up, it's just going to be interesting.
Yeah, that'll be a fun podcast episode to talk about, because the Greek life scene is always just something it's its own episode and a half,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, when people say, oh, college is hard, college sucks, it really doesn't. And if there's one huge takeaway to get from this, it's that it will always be okay, right? Like it's just always going to be a lot of goods with some bad mixed in, and
Exactly.
it's never going to be the easiest thing in the world. If it is, I envy you. But
I think
at the
some
same
of the
time,
hardest things about college is applying, right? And I know we're gonna talk about that one week, but am I gonna get into this college? Am I gonna get into this college with my friend? Am I gonna be able to afford this? Am I gonna enjoy being 500 miles from my house?
No, I agree. There's
Once you get in, you instantly have a certain love for the school.
mm-hmm.
And with that, for me, I hope everybody else does, but you instantly call that place home. Right?
Yeah, I was gonna say it becomes your home pretty much overnight, and that is one of the greatest feelings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. My first week on call in spending the night, my first night spending the night, that was I woke up with this guy I'd met 2 days ago in a different bed across the room.
I was gonna say just clarify that statement really quickly.
And I was like, wait, hold on. This is weird.
I know.
But immediately, it just became a normal thing,
Yeah.
And it's a great feeling.
Yeah. He's overcome by emotion, ladies and gentlemen. He's feeling this. Yeah. That was an emotional moment. And I think with that, we do have to end there, too. So we're going to end on that beautiful note. So thank you guys all very much for taking the time out of your day to listen to us talk about college a little bit and talk about our own experiences. Please obviously subscribe, share all the fun things that we have to ask you to do in order to keep doing this. And yeah, we'll stay connected.